Go ahead and start rolling. Okay. All right, I'm here with Jordy. Sit. Nice. This is Jordy's roadmap to success. Basically, Jordy likes to bark at people who come to the house. And the video above has instructions on what the guests need to do in order to have a successful visit. I'd like the guardians to practice sit. Nice. Leaving the treat trail out once a day and the same position. So, and then after doing this for about 4 or 5 days, I'd like you to go through your Rolodex and then, or through your phone address book and just call your friends that you haven't had come by and just say, hey, can you come by? And again, start with people who are closest to you. Keep those visits 10 minutes or less. Watch the video above and have them watch the video above so they kind of know all the ins and outs about what to do, and make sure you pick guests who are going to listen to you. So what we want to do is build a positive association with a guest, with another one, and the whole idea is we set him up by keeping these short, set him up for success. So there's no barking or lunging, and after he's done enough of those, that's the new default behavior. That's the practiced behavior. When guests come over, I get a whole bunch of treats, I get stuff to chew on, stuff to lick on, and it's the best time ever. And the guests don't try to pet me or ask me for more than what I can give. One of the first things we talked about was consent. So remember to look for those signs of consent. If you forget about what those are, message me. I have a video specifically on consent. I'm going to just do the summary video here. But if any of these topics, there's anything that you want, let me know, and I'm happy to share a video that goes into the weeds on it. So make sure you're looking for signs of consent with anybody who wants to interact with him. Remember, if anytime he's barking at somebody, you can't reinforce emotion. So if he's barking, shove treats in his mouth, throw a whole bunch of treats on the ground, throw the treats away so he moves away. All we want him to do is increase that distance so he feels confident and secure. We went over marker words. The marker word guardians use for him is nice. So I remember the marker word should come at the precise instant the dog does the thing you want. Nice and pet right there. That's celebrating. So it's not afterwards. So, and after you say your marker word, don't say any other words for 5 seconds. Let that word sit up there by itself. The hand targeting. So keep on practicing that until he's consistently touching his nose to your hand without the paw. And when he's doing that, then you can start saying boop as you throw your hand on. Then he touches it with his nose, and then keep your hand frozen, put the treat there. So the way you would do it is say boop. He touches it with his nose. You say nice. The second his nose touches your hand, then you put your treat on your frozen hand, and he licks it up. And then switch and do it on this side. Remember, progression is turn, then lean, then one step, then multiple steps. So I want you guys to practice that a lot. And so that way he can do that when you have guests come over. You guys do it a little bit of it yourselves, and then you can have the guests throw their hand out, and he gets to go over and interact with them. So it's a nice way to engage with him. I also can use that if I want to reposition my dog. Let's say Jordy's facing this way. Let's say he's facing this way, and I want to face the camera. I can hold my hand up and go like this, and he's going to turn and go whatever direction your hand is, because if I go there, there's going to be a treat there. So it's a nice way to manipulate our dog without manhandling them. We also went over priming, loading, the clicker exercise. We don't need to talk about that now. We also went over, cooking in the corner. We went over the positive interrupter next. So remember, the positive interrupter is or beep, 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 or puppy, puppy, puppy. Say in a high-pitched voice in a cadence of 3 or 4 times right in a row. When he looks at you, then throw your hand down and get him to come over and touch your hand, and then give him something else to do. So you use this when he's barking at somebody. As you saw, that's not going to work. But if he's sniffing in the trash, or he's about to jump on the window or something like that, that's when you use a positive interrupter, as long as his level of awareness isn't, or he's not in a heightened sense of awareness. All right, we also went over petting with a purpose and passive training. So petting with a purpose, if he nudges you, he's telling you what to do. Remember, we want that child-parent dynamic. So if he nudges me, I would say sit, nice, and then pet him under here, under his chin, on his chest, or on his shoulders, and pet him as much or as little as you want. After a while, he'll start prepaying by sitting down to ask for the attention. When he does, make sure that you recognize and reward that, mark it, and then pet him. And when you're doing it at first, if you tell him if he's sitting here and he nudges you, tell him to come and sit over here, or tell him to lay down. Don't practice shake. And then, and if he doesn't do it the first and only time you do it, then you go on to the other things you're doing. Remember, playing hard to get works great for dog training. Use the watchword of celebrate if you suspect someone's petting without a purpose. And even if that person did it right, they would still stop petting, tell them to sit or lay down, and then go through the whole rigmarole, and then tell you, actually, I asked him to sit. When you opened the door, he got excited and stood up. But I didn't forget to pet without a purpose. It's just going to take you guys about 2 months to get in the habit of doing that. So even if you did the right thing and the other person says, paycheck, just stop. Tell them to do it again, and then go back and do it, and then you can explain it later. Let me see. We also went over celebrating, which is capturing, which is rewarding him when he does things you want. So every time he comes to you, every time he looks at you, every time he lays down, he brings you a doll, he drops a ball, he poops, he drinks his water, he eats his food, anything that's a desirable behavior, say your marker word. Don't take it for granted. Remember, this is like teaching him to say please or thank you. So instead of him coming up and saying, pet me, damn it, he comes down and says, please pet me, by sitting down. That's very polite. And if he has better manners with you guys, that's how he's going to interact with other people as well. Nice. That's capturing right there. I would pet him, but he does not want me to pet him, so I'm just saying nice. And then you guys could pet him, or I could give him and say nice and give him a treat. But generally for celebrating, I like to just do it with just a pet. So celebrating is when he voluntarily does an action that we like. We make sure we celebrate it by marking it as soon as we can, and then petting him within 2 seconds of that. And remember to use celebrate if like I'm sitting here, and hopefully he's going to come to me. And so if he came to me, somebody would say celebrate, I would say nice, and then I would reach over and pet him. That's how you would do for the celebrate. And after a while, when you see that he's coming, so I'll do it right here he's going to do an SIT. Sit, nice. So I knew he was going to sit down, so I said the word before the action. Don't say the command word or the cue unless you're 90% certain the dog's going to do the action. If not, just keep on practicing, luring them into it and saying the marker word over and over. Once they're in autopilot, then you can say sit and lure them in and say your marker word and give them the treat. And eventually you drop the marker word and you just say sit, he sits, you give him the treat, and you don't have to say the marker word because he's already identified what it is. So that's petting with the purpose of passive training. Both two sides of the same coin. It'll take you guys about 2 months to get in the habit of doing that. So keep on checking each other and reminding each other until eventually it becomes second nature to you. We also talked about sit. Yes, he's sitting because he wants a treat from me. All right, so we also talked about exercise and structure. Exercise is something we don't really think about very often for dogs. We mean to exercise our dogs, but usually we don't. Remember, sniffing burns more energy on a walk by walking. So take them on sniff walks. Came for shorter, more frequent walks than one longer walk. You could also get them a doggy harness or a doggy backpack, provided your vet is okay with that. You could do the doggy Stairmaster that I showed you. We could also, well, I guess he doesn't like playing tug of war or fetch. So those are kind of, or alert, you can do the dog skiing that I mentioned if he wants to do that as well. We could also do the scent games, the cookie in the corner and the mental stimulation. So cookie in the corner, I have a video for that. Remember, that's just throwing the treats. I have videos, like I said, if you need that, let me know. So get to the point where you say, hunt, and he goes and searches in an area and there's already 5 treats that you laid out there ahead of time, and eventually you can make them harder and harder to find, and that can be a great way to burn energy. Yes, I know that's the only way he wants me to touch him is shake my hand. That's okay. I'm respecting his personal space. Let me see. We also talked about, and Google scent games, because there's a whole bunch of scent games that you can build up into that. We also talked about feeding him out of a snuffle mat. Get a snuffle mat off of Amazon. Get one of the really thick ones. And I like to get the one that's stitched on the backside. Get him a Omega Paw treat ball. That's that orange ball. You can put treats in there. He can have that nudging around when guests are around. So now he has something to do. And positive association. The lick mat, reserve that for when guests are over. But every once in a while, give it to him. But make sure, I would probably reserve that mostly for that. Go to the Green Spot or Woof and Whiskers or a place like that. Get a whole bunch of bully sticks. Get cow kneecaps, tracheas, chicken feet, duck's heads, cod skins. The kneecaps are one of my dog's favorites, but they also have something called no hides that look like raw hides, and dogs really like those as well. Remember, chewing is a good way for him to release some stress. Nice. He's getting more and more comfortable around me. His pupils are nice and small right now. They're not super dilated. Remember to look for his overall body mechanics. So look for his body posture. Is he leaning away from someone or towards somebody, or his feet underneath him? Then look at his breathing. Is it labored and fast, or is it normal? If he goes from an open mouth and gets still, remember, dogs are wiggly and jiggly. So if he all of a sudden gets still and stiff and closes his mouth, have the person or you throw treats away from them so that he increases that distance. Yes, this doesn't look good on camera. Let me see. Let me see what else we were talking about. So that's mental stimulation. Yes, training, also very stimulating. Make sure you keep the training sessions 2 to 3 minutes maximum. Make sure you end on a positive one. And the idea for exercise is to come up with a routine that is reasonable for you, that you can achieve, where you're getting them exercise about every 2 hours or so. But remember to exercise them before a guest comes over, before a walk. before somebody comes to work on the house or things along those lines. But if we can feed him out of a snuffle mat and do all the rest of those things, you should have enough things where you can get him about 6 to 8 mental stimulation, physical exercise sprinkled throughout the day. That's going to make him a lot better, a lot easier for him to deal with a lot of these other issues. Nice. Nice too. Yes, you're very good. Let me see, what else? We also talk about rules and structure. A lot of us, we create rules for being bad. But rules are a great way for dogs to practice self-restraint or self-control. So I have to sit on the dog bed while you prepare my food, and then sit and wait on the dog bed while you put the food down. And I have an exercise called the bucket game. So if he gets really excited, he starts going for let me know, and I'm happy to share the bucket game exercise with you in a video. It teaches him to stay calm and on the dog bed while you lower the ball all the way to the floor, and he stays there. There's also a bunch of other impulse control exercises. You might want to look up some of those, or I'm happy to come back and go over some other ones. We might need to do a follow-up session with him in about a month, but I want you guys to really focus on this stuff for about a month. Watch this video a couple times. There's a couple more things I want to go over. Let me see, Premax. Well, some of the rules that I usually recommend: not being allowed in the kitchen when we're preparing food. So maybe in this house, I would say he has to be on the carpet. He's not allowed to be on the tile or the wood when you're cooking. When you're at the dining table, maybe there's a line that goes from the work island to this corner here, and from the work island to the counter across, and that bubble is not allowed while we're eating. The rest of the time you can come and go as you please, but not while we're eating. Also to incorporate some of those Premax. So make sure you tell him to sit before you start the process putting his food on. Preparing his food. Sit at the corner, sit before you open the door, and things along those lines. Also, practice that leashing exercise. So when there's no reason for him to get excited, get up and walk to where the leash is. As soon as he walks in front of you, turn around and walk and sit back down and don't say a word to him. You're stopping the action through operant conditioning. As soon as you walk in front, I lose interest. It'll take you several times. Eventually, you can walk all the way there and he stays behind you. Then tell him to sit. If he sits, then reach a little bit for the leash, pull your arm back, say nice, and give him a treat. Then reach a little bit more, nice, and give him a treat. It'll take you might take a couple of practice sessions. Eventually, you can reach all the way, pick it up, say, put it back down, say nice, and give him a treat. Then you pick it up and jiggle it a little bit, nice, and put it back, nice, and give him a treat. Eventually, pick it up and attach it to him, nice, and then he gets a treat afterwards, and he's calm. And then let him drag the leash around for a couple minutes, then take it off and put it back. So now the leash does not always mean we're going out for a walk. Remember, the excitement and happiness are not necessarily always the same thing. So if we can teach him to be calm and balanced inside the house before we leave for a walk, he's going to be a lot easier to maintain that calm demeanor on a walk. And also don't be afraid to exercise him, like I said, before walks to set him up for success. I think that's just about it. Is there anything else you want me to go over? Thank you. Thank you, Jordy. Puppy, puppy, puppy. Jordy. So remember, go ahead and close the door if you could. So that reminds me of something we could do. And so the door has kind of a, I don't know what you call it, distortion to the glass so you can't see through it, but you can see shapes. So the door was open there and he watched somebody walk by and that's what triggered that. Well, that is becomes a practice behavior. And you also have it with the front, with the room into the front of your house, so you can kind of see out there as well. So basically what I would do is cover the bottom part of that window and the bottom 2 or 3 rungs of your door. So that way when he goes to the door, he doesn't see that his barking makes anybody leave, so he doesn't get validated. After a while, he'll get out of a habit of barking. Now, this is the mini treat pouch from PetSafe. I would get one of these things. You can clip it on your leggings or whatever it is. Load them up with a chicken liver. So that way, when your guests come over, they attach it. Now he's like, part of the reason he likes me is because I'm the giver and the bringer of treats. Well, if all the guests have one of these things, then he's gonna be very happy. I don't have to yell because I've got a mic right here that hopefully this time is recording everything. And so sit, nice. Remember, the sit is an indicator. So if you tell him to sit and he won't sit, it's not him being disobedient. He might be saying, I'm uncomfortable enough to sit this close to the person. So, and if he's barking or staring or whatever it is, have the person throw a treat across the room, increase that distance for him so he doesn't have to do it himself. But the more that you provide rules and structure, the more that he sees that you guys are providing and taking care of everything. I can go off duty. I don't have to be the one in charge of rules and security, which is, I think, where he thinks his job is, and that's how he contributes to his group. Well, now we're going to start petting him for the things that we like. So he's going to know what it is that he can do to make his contribution to the group is sitting, going to the dog bed, eating my food, all that fun stuff. All right, well, let's, I reach for the treat, but they're right here. So we give him one right over here. Also for him, right before he's about to start doing it, I can't really tell you because he's got his back to you, but he's got his mouth open. And right before he does this barking thing, he closes his mouth, his ears go back, and his pupils blow up like balloons, and that's when the machine gun comes. So if you see any of those things happening, I'm trying to trigger one right now. He's just drooling because he sees that I have a treat. Well, what I would do is just pick up a treat and throw it away. And you can do that as well and just increase that distance. All right, well, Jordy, come here. Let's sign off. Jordy, sit. This is my buddy Jordy, and this is Jordy's Roadmap to Success. Remember, everything you do trains your dog. Only sometimes you mean it.